And what happened to you?
Well, it was a very strange thing. It was summertime. It was August 2006. As I said, we'd just been back at our home for a few days. And the very first day I got home, I was up on the roof working on the vent. And I saw that a police car stopped in front of my house. And they were looking at me on the roof and like taking notes. And I thought, this is odd. You know, what is this? What is this kind of surveillance? And then we saw that there was a lot of police activity around my house. They would go around the house like every hour. Oh. And so they were obviously keeping an eye on us. And then a few days later, I was on a bicycle riding to the store, and a car passed me, just going slowly. And I looked down into the car. We were going different directions, and I could see that there were 3 heavily armed men in there, wearing body armor. But this was not any sort of...
External body armor?
Yeah, they were wearing external blue, body shields.
So they weren't
vests.
trying to hide anything?
No, they weren't hiding anything. And they were about a block from my house, and they were going in the direction of my house. And I thought, well, this is getting serious. And I told my wife about that. And I said, this is very odd, because we live in a very quiet residential area. There's no need for any sort of SWAT team activity on a normal day. And
where is this, by the way?
It's in a place called Hoffman Estates, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago, in Cook County. And then the next day, I came out at the end of the day, about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. I stepped out on the porch, and the same car is going right by our house. And I told my wife, I said, that car is around our house again with those 3 men. And I said, should I call the police? And we debated, and I got on the bike, and I rode to the store, and I said, yeah, I should call. I really should call the police. So I called the 911 number, and I said, there's this car going around my house with 3 heavily armed men. I don't know who they are. Could you, send a team out or a car, officer out to, explain what's going on here, what you know? And what happened is that they sent a uniformed officer to my house, but this team, what's called a tactical undercover team, these 3 men, they hijacked the call. They told the officer, you stay back, we'll take care of this. And they took over the response. So the call was about their presence in my neighborhood, and in response to my call, they came to my house.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I got home, I was putting the groceries away, I looked out the front window, and I saw these 3 men marching up the driveway. And my wife had been gardening in the backyard. She saw them, and she had come down to the driveway, and she had stopped them halfway up the driveway. But this is all on my property. And she stopped them on the driveway and asked them, who are you? What do you want? And they wouldn't provide any identification. They wouldn't say who they were. One of them, she said, pulled out a driver's license from his back pocket, just the license, and held it up at a distance and put it back. And I saw this, and my little daughter was next to my wife. I ran out the front door, and I went up stood by my wife, and I said, who are you? What agency are you with? Why are you terrorizing our neighborhood with all this gear and all this stuff? And the one that was facing me about 2 meters away, he said, oh, we're terrorizing your neighborhood, are we? And then he reached behind his leg to where his weapons are. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, I have to get my brother. So I turned to go back into the house, and at that point they tackled me on the lawn and held me down, and one officer was kneeling on my temple with his full body weight on the side of my head. My wife said my face had turned purple, my eyes were bulging out, and the other officer that was running the operation, he was sitting on my back of my legs, and my shirt had lifted up, and I was pinned down. This arm was underneath me, the other arm was in a handcuff, and in this position they put the taser directly against the back of my skin on my lower back and gave me the full 50,000 volt drive stun. It's called
Why
a drive
did they
stun.
taser you?
Well, you'd have to ask them why they tasered me.
I mean, were you resisting?
No, I was. As I said, I was pinned down like a lab specimen.
So you couldn't have resisted even if you wanted to.
No, I could not even move a finger. And so my understanding is logically that this was done to harm me or to torture me. Well, and then when we got up from the ground, there were 3 men. The third officer, of course, was standing about 15 feet away with a .45 caliber gun ready to shoot me if I became berserk. And they lifted me up off the ground, and when they lifted me off the ground, I saw that suddenly, out of nowhere, something like 7 police cars had appeared in my front yard, and there was a fire truck down the street. But my wife has almost photographic memory, and she recalled that when she was talking to those officers, that there was a fire truck down the street. And so the fire truck actually had come to my house before the tactical team had arrived, because the fire dispatch had heard that the dispatcher say, "Prepare for an unknown medical emergency at 220 Kingman, my house."
Before they did
Before they even arrived.
Wow.
And so because the fire department is only 2 blocks away, they were at my house before all these police. And these other 7 police cars had basically parked themselves around the corner 100 yards down the street and just waited until the operation was over. And as soon as the operation was done, they came on the scene. And they had one car had juvenile officers in it, people who were prepared to take my children away. And
So this is all set up?
All set up. And the man that ran it, the officer that ran it, his name is Michael Barber. He's an officer of the Hoffman Estates Police Department, but he's also an officer of Homeland Security. So, for example, when Hurricane Katrina happened down in Louisiana, Officer Barber put on his FEMA outfit, or his Homeland Security outfit, and picked up his rifle and went down to New Orleans. And that photograph was in the front lobby of the police station for years. So it's like we have federal agents working in local police departments who are ready to do federal business when necessary. And I was, of course, charged with resisting arrest and assaulting these officers, or assaulting these police, who never identified themselves as police. I did neither. So I chose to take the court option and plead innocent. And that's very difficult to do. And they didn't allow my evidence to be presented. They didn't allow my expert witness to testify.
Weren't videos taken of that event?
They were all destroyed.
And then they were all destroyed.
Every single car had made a video of the event, but they had been destroyed. So they say. And the police lied on the stand. My first lawyer told me that the police will lie on the stand, but because they are police, the jury will believe them. And that's exactly what happened. I said, no, you can't make such a lie, such a story out of this, and people are going to believe it. But they did. And they openly lied on the stand. Officer Stoy said one thing, and Officer Barber said another, both of which could not have been true. Because when the taser is applied to somebody, according to the protocol, they're supposed to say, before they deploy it, they're supposed to say, "Taser, taser," like to prepare the victim or something. And so in court this was asked, and Officer Stoy said that Michael Barber had said, "Taser, taser," and vice versa. Barber said that Stoy had said that. So either A is telling the truth, either Stoy was telling the truth, or Barber was telling the truth, or neither were telling the truth. The fact is the third. Neither of them were telling the truth because nobody said taser, taser. They just put it against me and let me have it.
Yeah, unreal.